Hi everyone, it's Erin from EB Mix Media. This video is going to be a little bit different today. I think I've mentioned quite a bit recently of how I've been in a bit of a slump. I've had a really hard time getting motivated to get up in my art room. I've been super busy at work. I've been traveling. I've had a lot going on, so I have to cut myself some slack. But I'm also feeling a little bit overwhelmed by my art desk. It's gotten kind of a mess lately. I'm sure you all can relate to this. And I'm wondering if perhaps I would find more inspiration if my desk was clean and clear and I could better see what I have to use. And I'm just thinking that would help me. But when I come up and it's a clutter and there's very little space to work, I find it difficult to feel creative. So one thing I'm tackling is and I've showed this before, I have this massive box on my desk. It's a three slot kind of container. It came from Target. You can find them at any kind of container store or Walmart or wherever. And it's just become overflowing with scrap pieces. And I'm sure you're all the same. I keep every little tiny scrap. And at some point it's just ridiculous and stuff has to go. And I've got to be a little ruthless. So I've sort of set a goal for myself to get up into my art room and just clean a bit, just sort 15-minute power cleans. And I think it's a way to trick yourself into doing things because I came up here, I pulled out a bunch of stuff intending to do it yesterday. I got distracted. When I came up again, it was all sitting here and I was like, I'm just going to set a timer and I'm going to spend 15 minutes doing this. And then I got totally motivated to do a video. So it's working, maybe. So what I'm doing is I'm just literally pulling out piles of this stuff and I'm going through them and I'm kind of organizing them by size. So this is a larger size here. That might be larger. And then the smaller ones I'm putting over here. And these are all my pinks. And I'm just setting them aside over in this pile. I don't know if that's even on camera. And sorting. And then things like this, there's really not enough words on it to use. I could trim this and save it for sentiments, but that's probably what I was thinking. It's going in the garbage. And you'll notice a lot of my pieces are they're not torn. I mean, there's a torn edge on this one, but generally speaking, it's a rectangle or a square or a strip. And I find pieces are easier to store when they are a finished edge or similar shapes. And they can always be torn later to fit different shapes. But I just find storage is easier without all the rough edges that are catching on each other. Here's another one. That's just barely a music. Well, that kind of works. So I'll set that aside. But yeah, so a lot of these are decent pieces, right? But this is sort of boring. So I could set these aside and have a day where I go through and do mark making on these pieces. Or, I use it and then I put some marks on it. But for now, because I have so much, it's going in the bin. Look at, what's this one? Oh, that's not too bad. It's bigger than I realized. This is a nice big piece. I don't like this piece. I pick it up a lot. I don't like it. Garbage. This is a sticker. So you can see I'm not going to spend forever sorting. We all know how to sort. That's not anything. That's kind of boring. That's okay, I guess. Things that don't have a lot of pattern, I'm really thinking of getting rid of. Like there's that taking up space. There's that taking up space. I tore it off and just threw it in. It's a white piece of copy paper. That, meh. This goes in blues. I'm not going to sort it today. I'm just sticking it in there. These all look pretty good. That's such a small scrap gone. This is ugly. But that side's okay. Plain Jane. Plain Jane. That's sparkly. Yeah, wadded up mess. Do I like that? Maybe. I'm not being as ruthless as I usually am, I have to admit. There's not a lot happening there, and I've seen multiple pieces of this. Not crazy about that. Hate that. Too boring. No, let's get more ruthless. That's an interesting piece. I don't know why it's all wound up like that. That's good. That's good. That's good. Meh, I've had lots of those. It's kind of a nice neutral. Had lots of those. Put that there, put that there. That's a cool piece, but it's orange. Move that out. This is yellow, go somewhere else. Okay, garbage. Okay, so I've done a fair bit here, and these are great to use, obviously, in larger journal pages or what have you. They're also great as a background for a collage piece or a collage cluster. This is also great size for covering a whole tag. So it's nice to keep these in a larger size. But these scraps, we still have tons, and this isn't even a third of what's in that bin. So one way to get some inspiration as well is to now sort through by shape. These are circles. This is on a heavy duty cardstock. So these are odd shapes. So I'm going to do like squares and rectangles, and then I'm going to do strips. Let's keep it like that for now. I'd call that a strip. So like a thinner rectangle strip I'm going to pull out. And I think you probably know, if you've watched me for any length of time, where I'm headed with this. But I'll show you a quick, simple way to get rid of some of your scraps very quickly, and make something new. It's kind of a bigger piece, but I'll put that there. So I'm looking for kind of longer pieces. I've had that forever. That are more of a strip of paper. And because I cut my pieces and cut off the torn edges a lot of times, and square them off for my collages, I have a lot of these strips. Okay, that's pretty good. And then again, see how these sort of pack up together a little better because they're all squared off. And that can help with your storage a bit because it's a much more compact pile instead of a massive mess. And you can sort of organize them in your tray by standing them up like so, or putting them, you know, it gives you a little more organization when you're looking for just the right piece. Because oftentimes you're thinking about size and shape and color. So I have a piece of scrap cardstock here. I've got some scissors. I've got a scrap piece of paper for gluing, and I've got some matte medium here. And I've got a brush that I kind of ruined using matte medium, so I'm going to pull that out too. And I'm just going to do what I like to call paper striping. So I'm just going to put some of this down and spread it out here. I think my brush still had some dirty paint water. And I'm just going to start laying these down. And this is a little different than how I usually do it because these are all different sizes. And that one is actually on cardstock, so it's thick. I'm not going to use that one. And I'll lay this one down. And I'm not paying a lot of attention to what I'm putting next to each other. But you could be a little more discerning about, these are all going to match because they're in the pinks and orange color families. But I'm not being super careful even to look at things like pattern, which you would maybe want to pay attention to, but that's more of an orange. And you can do this with a glue stick. I just thought this might be quicker. I don't use matte medium a lot because I just find it messy. Now this has a jagged edge. I think that's okay. Let's go ahead and put it down. And you can go back over the top as well to make sure it's extra secure. Let's get in here. Do I have one that's wide enough to go in here? I think so. And so what you're going to create is kind of a master sheet of scraps, right? But it has a cool look to it because it's very linear. Okay, so we've got these all down. I'm going to go around here and trim this excess off. And I am going to be incredibly brave and probably throw all of these little pieces away. Because again, we've already established I have way too many scraps. You could also do this in your paper cutter easily enough. Okay, so now you have this master board. And look, I found a few spots where when I cut it, everything came off with it. So we can go back through and put another scrap in, perhaps maybe one of these that I just cut off to cover up those little bits. If there's areas there, I can see a little white through there. I'm not going to worry about it. When I do my final piece, maybe I'll decide it needs to be fixed in whatever format I use this. Now, this could be used as is, as a master sheet. You could cut these up and use them as the base for artist trading cards or ink box cards. You could cut them up into tags. But I'll show you one thing I sort of like to do, which I think is very fun, is to cut these up and to make a kind of a washi tape out of them. And you can vary the width of these, and then they're really kind of fun to use. Almost as if you have washi tape. Do another one a little thicker. And you can see how cool that is as a stripe to use, almost as if any place you might use washi tape. But now if you wanted to do an artist trading card, I'll show you that. Artist trading cards are generally 3.5 by 2.5. So you could do it this way where your stripes are very vertical. So here you've got one where you're an artist trading card where your stripes are very vertical, and here you have one where they're very horizontal. Either way, they're great backgrounds. And I'll just maybe leave this one as is for use, maybe as a collage background or something. So just to show you, this is a nice super thin one, which I think is really fun. This one needs a lot more gluing. That was on the edge, and I clearly didn't get my edges glued down very well. So that has to be redone, or at least cleaned up a little bit. And there's a nice kind of mid-range stripe. So anyway, super simple, easy project. I got through quite a big pile of scraps. I still have them, but they're in a much more user-friendly format and storage-friendly format in this way. So I hope that gave you some inspiration for kind of cleaning up some of your mess in your art room, assuming you have a mess. Maybe it's just me. I don't think so. And putting your scraps to good use. And if you like this idea of sort of storage, organization, decluttering kind of video, let me know, and maybe we'll start doing like a series on that, on kind of getting yourself organized and storing your things and stuff like that. Okay, that's it for me today. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, bye.